and welcome to Outside the Issues, where we have it's going to be a little bit of a different show because we're doing a retrospect on The Boys from Amazon Prime. And you might ask yourself, who are The Boys? Well, they're a self-appointed watchdog group that keeps tabs on the corrupt soups, as they like to say. But during all this,
I thought we were the boys.
What's that?
I thought we were the boys.
Might as well be.
Oh, well, we are the boys. But it's time to dive into this hero-gasm of fun and introduce the panel. We've got White Whale Comics. What's going on?
What's up? I realize we all have the same microphone.
It's a thing. It's a club. It's the cheaper of the blue ones, right?
Mine came with the arm.
Oh, well, yours is pretty expensive. I got mine with a video game.
Yeah, I wanted the one with the video game. I wasn't going to get the arm, but they were sold out, the one with the video game.
The one with the arm is none other than Drew Manchu, baby. So what's going on, Drew?
It's a baby's arm holding the microphone.
Well, I mean, let's dive into this show because I honestly continue to say that The Boys is one of my all-time favorite shows. And I mean, well, books and series. But the show itself was surprisingly... It exceeded my expectations, nonetheless. So we'll start off with you, Drew.
Yeah, my favorite superhero show in quite some time. I really enjoyed a lot of the Marvel Netflix stuff they did towards the beginning. Daredevil season 2, I think, was kind of the pinnacle of that. Jessica Jones did some really good character stuff. Swamp Thing had a really good CG budget. The Boys blows them all out of the water, man. This show is top notch. This is HBO level production. It's the acting is great. The story is fun. The actors play some of the best characters that I've ever seen in the series, and the violence is great. The action's good, and there's a lot of introspective human elements to the show as well. Really well pulled off. I'd never read the book, but really enjoyed the show.
How about old Huey? How about Huey? It's great.
We're going to dive down to the guy himself, the great legend. Welcome on. Great.
Man, Chad, it's good to be here, man. Me and Chad have been trying to get in contact with each other the whole day, but we just kept crossing the streams. But guess what, Comic Core fans? Now we'll be in your dreams because representing tonight, we got Outside the Issues. Damn. How about Huey, man? Man, great character. He went from just small time, not thinking he could do, man up or whatever, or be the man and not be like a coward or whatever. And man, he just really took off, especially when he let the old grenade go off up in what was it, Translucent? Damn.
So I'll ask Alec real quick. What was your opinion? Did you read the books?
I only read the first couple issues when it very first came out, and then I was like, "Oh, I'll read this in trade," and then I never got around.
So So let's dive in. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. CG was like out of control good. The special effects incredible. The acting great. All the characters really good. Really, created in a way so they weren't just like cardboard cutouts, I thought. And I, unfortunately, really identified with little Huey at the beginning of the show.
What? I need to know why.
Because he's like neurotic and has, he can't like ask his boss for a raise. He's just like, he second guesses everything he does, and I was watching it with Sammy, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's me. That's the same here." Well, except for like getting someone vaporized in front of your face.
I think you definitely need to go shove a bomb up somebody's ass and then get some confidence in.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can figure out a way to do it other than shoving a bomb up someone's ass. But
wait, that's what Baltimore's for.
Yeah, sometimes sacrifice needs to be made. Speaking of translucence, one of my favorite lines from the whole show was when he says, "Translucent doesn't mean transparent, it means semi-transparent. You know, it doesn't mean invisible, it means semi-transparent, and that was very funny.
The best thing that I could tell you from the show, they took little aspects from the book, and a lot of times where series make mistakes is they try if they're gonna do the comic book, they try to like keep it as close to the source material. But in this one, you have to steer away from from the source material because and eventually they're gonna get some powers too, because in the book they actually have powers. They take Mama's milk, and Mama's milk in the comics
Oh, that just sounds funny. Damn.
is what it is. It's Mother's milk is Mother's milk's mom has these giant nipples in the comics. I mean, they're like a half a mile long, and they suck on it, and that's how the boys get their powers. So when they go toe to toe with the bad guys, the one character that they were missing out of the first one that I read today is going to be in the second season is the Martian Manhunter character.
All right, cool.
And him and A-Train really like develop a relationship. So I'm really stoked on where this is going because there's
Pat Patterson.
There's at one point Pat Patterson is one of the things like Batman and the Boy Wonder is like he's the Blue Knight and this kid and so it's interesting where it's going to go. The character that plays the actor that plays Homelander, I remember him from a TV show called Banshee, and it was on Cinemax, where he played a con man who stumbles into a small town and ends up watching a sheriff die, the new sheriff in town, and he assumes the role of the sheriff. This one,
is this Deadwood?
No, it was called. As the show progresses, it's going to be Homelander is an absolute nutbag. And
they cast that guy so perfectly. He looks like so all American, but at the same time, like such a scumbag.
Did you hear about the clip that they wanted to include in it, but I think it's like Amazon made them cut it?
What's that?
It's Homelander. I don't know. I think it's that girl puts him in his place or something, and the Karate Kid chick, and then he goes and flies off to like one of the tallest buildings and just ejaculates like a bunch of times, saying "I'm the best in the world" or something like that.
So I'm not going to
cut that part out.
I'm going to reference the book a lot, but in the book, like all this terrible shit happens, right? But nobody, like Black Noir is just sitting there all the time, and nobody understands who he is. Well, Black Noir in the book is a clone of Homelander.
Damn.
And he's super, super violent. So as violent as Homelander gets, like they said, Black Noir just disappears and he goes completely apeshit. But
yeah, I thought he was kind of underused in the show because every time he showed up, I was like, "Oh, that's very funny," but
yeah,
it was like every 3 episodes.
But you don't. But it's very much like the book itself, because in the book you don't see him until literally the seventh, I guess the seventh arc towards the end. So it's hilarious when that happens. And the Deep doesn't play that big of a role. He just shows up with his helmet on in the comic, which is the one disappointing thing is the dog wasn't in it. And I'm hoping that season 2 we get the bulldog.
Yeah.
I love the Deep. I thought that the Deep was one of the best things about the show. I thought the fact that he was the dummy who's trying to rescue the dolphin was the funniest thing I've seen on television in a very long time. Is that dolphin getting run over by that truck after it gets launched through the front end of the front SUV?
I thought the Deep was very confusing in a way because like this first scene where you see him where he like sexually assaults the girl, I felt like didn't fit with the rest of his character.
I think it did, only because it was him reaching for power. It was him taking advantage of being in a power position where he wasn't. He was constantly the butt of the joke. He was constantly the fish guy.
Yeah.
You know, nobody respects the deep. So the second he had a chance to take advantage of his power dynamic, he did. I think that was a big part of it. I think that was his one chance to, you know, be like, hey, you know what? I'm the deep. I got fish dick. You want some fish dick? And beyond that, as soon as we got past that point, and it became Starlight's story became something else as it evolved. I think that became a point for the deep where you looked at him and you're like, okay, I kind of feel sorry for this guy, because that was the extent of his power, is making this girl feel less than. I think that makes him more of a joke moving forward. I don't think that takes the sting out of that scene at all, but I think it makes him a joke, which then goes to reinforce the fact that, yeah, well, she knows he's a joke. She knows he's a joke.
Yeah, I guess I just like, that's a good point, but watching it, I felt like it was more of like they needed it as a plot point more than anything, and so they just like kind of put it in there, no pun intended.
Well, I think that the character point of it being an opportunity for him to flex his muscle, to show his power, to be the big man, and it ultimately being his undoing, which sends him to Sandusky, Ohio. I think it goes to reinforce that he is a joke, that he's just the fish guy, that nobody cares about the deep, and it's his tragic story is that his hubris of thinking that he could take advantage of Starlight, it was his undoing in the end.
Yeah.
Sandusky, gone too soon.
I mean, they're not a shithole like Akron. It might have been my favorite line of the series.
Yeah.
No, we don't have that much crime. I mean, we're not a shithole like Akron.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm going to be trying to read the whole thing, see how it goes. I did flip through the first parts. Looked good. Chad, it was just like you said, man. That fish guy got that helmet on in there. One of them old 20,000 Leagues under the Leagues, man. It's classics.
Well, the funny thing about the deep is he was involved in that scene in the comics, but it was Homelander that she's having the conversation with, and she says, you know, I was a big fan, blah blah blah. And next thing you know, she turns around and it's Homelander, the deep, and A-Train with all their pants down, and they run a train on her. And that's the only way she can do it.
I saw them three guys ready to go.
Be in the JLA or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean that clearly would have been, I think, too much for the show.
Yeah, and
a bridge too far.
I guess the reason for me why it seemed kind of weird is because he and you know, like you said, Drew, it does end up being this way, but he is the joke the whole time, and not only in the show, but as the viewer, like he is the guy who's messing up trying to rescue the dolphin, and he's the guy who's, you know, doing all this dumb stuff, and like, I guess, you know, you don't want to make characters too one-dimensional, but like, I don't know, it could have just been I guess you couldn't have made it Homelander because you don't know that he's bad yet in that episode. Like, that reveal comes later.
So, a couple of things in the show itself that has me pumped for the next season is like how fast they were able to bring together like Butcher's story, and how quick they were able to, like, how Huey was able to progress with Starlight as fast as he did. It's gonna ultimately bring together a lot of the shows. What am I trying to say? It's going to bring the show together quickly to a point where you're going to see more and more of the battle between the boys and the Seven, because there's, you know, they have to introduce the X-Men like characters, the the Teen Titan versions, and it's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to find out. All these people are just horrible human. I mean, well, aliens and superheroes. They're just diabolical individuals all across the board. Yeah, Chris Barrett. I mean the 5 now. Well, they're going to bring it back because every time. Yeah, no, I'm not going to dive into that. That's my passion for this story. Can you tell?
I think that they did a really good job walking the line of making these characters super hateable, but also super relatable. A-Train, so many scenes where he seems like just such a base model asshole piece of garbage.
Yeah.
But then there's the scenes with him and Popclaw where you realize he's a human being who has flaws, who has different problems, such pathos between the two of them that, you know, the fact that they're terrible people starts to melt away at a certain point, and you see them for who they are in the situation they've been placed in.
Yeah.
And you think none of these characters, even Homelander, by the end of the series, I think none of them asked for this. You know
what? That's the same thing could be said for the landlord. He didn't ask to get poop fucked in the face.
Hey, man. No, he asked for that. He just didn't ask for it to end the way it ended. And then you gotta go.
He got poop fucked in the face.
Dude, if there is one way to go, that's probably the way to
go. Yeah, A-Train was certainly interesting because, like, you know, you see him as this guy who, you know, you're introduced to him as he vaporizes someone. And, you know, he's set up as the bad guy because Huey hates him, and the whole setup for the series is that he's doing this because A-Train did something terrible.
Yeah.
And he did, and it's, you know, not forgivable, but you see him as this guy who is searching, you know, he's as much of his external personality shows him as being this very confident guy. He's clearly not, because he's so concerned with being the best that, you know, he has to become a drug addict, and he has to, you know, do all this stuff that, you know, he kills his girlfriend and then blames it on other people, and or he sees it as their fault. And, you know, they are all flawed. It's not like they're just these assholes. You know, they're not just bad guys. They're bad guys, but in a way that is believable.
Yeah. No, I see it because, I mean, the comic book version of it would never have been able to make. They can't make a movie out of it. They couldn't make a TV show out of it.
Yeah, there like was a lot of Arthur stuff.
There's no possible way. But I mean, they're going to take some of these aspects from the comic and apply it. Like, what's the drug? Is it called Citizen V or something?
Compound V.
Compound V. So we know that there's this drug out there that gives them their superpower or super strength. So what are they going to do? Frenchie is he knows how to make these drugs, and he's going to build on it, and it's going to develop the story. Now, the one thing, and I know we're going to jump, I'm jumping really ahead of it, is the way that they play on Butcher's wife. You know, the ending was a oh fuck moment for me. I was completely taken back by it. I couldn't believe that happened.
Oh yeah,
because
I can't wait for it to come out that she was just a whore who was sleeping around in her husband. She didn't look like she got raped when she came out of that room.
In the comic,
she looked like she was looking back and forth to make sure nobody saw her.
Well, in the comic, she was. They were on their honeymoon. She was abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered, and then they put her back in the same bed with the Butcher. So he has like a whole Frank Castle vibe to him.
Yeah.
But this, they took a whole different approach, and I think it's going to be awesome. Like what they're going to do. I mean, it was really good. Now back to the Deep. I love the fact that he got what yeah, when he was in Dayton, he got abused.
Yeah,
she got the was she fisting the fin? I guess
she was fishing for some Mrs. Paul's fish fingers.
What she was doing.
But like, when you were talking about the dolphin was like, I always joke about this because I remember it from one episode of Family Guy when the dolphin rapes Peter, and dolphins are like supposed to be very sexually, promiscuous, and they attack. But the dolphin, the entire time he's driving to escape, it was coming on to him.
Yeah.
Assuming the relationship before they were even home free.
So you mentioned Frenchie.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was very interesting about the show, especially with like the good guys, is that as you're introduced to them, they are all much different than you get first impressions of. Frenchie in the last episode is not the Frenchie you see in the first episode.
No.
And I don't think that's because the writers decided to make him a different character. I think that's just because they chipped away at that exterior that he tries to present himself as in that first episode where you see him, and then you get to know who the real Frenchie is by the end of the first season, or closer to what the real Frenchie is.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
you see him like cooking and teaching the female how to cook.
But she talked. I mean, she never said a word in the comic.
No.
But as they develop these characters, I think you're going to see a lot more like the sensitive side of Double M is his family, and Butcher. Butcher is probably the biggest liar of all of them, though. Like, you don't know what. That's the thing throughout the entire. He's a narcissistic one track person who has an agenda that's going to lie to everybody to make sure that agenda is accomplished. But at the same breath, you saw him flip a little bit and reach out to the FBI to make sure that his people were safe. Yeah.
Butcher, I mean, from early on, you can tell that, as soon as he shows up, you're like, all right, this guy is not who he says he is. But you get the sense, I think a lot quicker about Mother's Milk and Frenchie that they are more complicated, whereas Butcher is more self-serving.
Yeah. I agree. So, Legend, what were you going to say, man? I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to say nothing. I was just enjoying the conversation. Yeah, I'm excited for season 2. I mean, damn, that last episode, that was that old Elizabeth Shue gone too soon. Damn.
But I mean, how awesome her boss was. I mean, casting couldn't get. I mean, that dude is such a dick. I've hated him since
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, and then
damn, that Pollo place, Pollo Locos.
Man, that dude was pretty good. I mean, the cast itself was. I mean, it's just a tremendous cast, and I love the fact that they got Huey to be Huey's dad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. And Carl Urban doesn't die.
No.
He dies in everything.
But see, now is A-Train going to die? Is he dead? Or does she save him?
I don't know.
So, I mean...
What am I writing this show?
What's that?
So what am I writing this show?
I don't know.
Was this Story Comic Core?
Touche. Drew, go on, man.
Look, I just think I want to talk about the CG for a minute. The kind of the less is more approach to it. Everything they did was very well grounded. They only did a few big gags, like her breaking through the bus, Homelander taking out the plane. The rest of it was done pretty minimalist and in a stylized way that really worked. And you could tell that the budget wasn't huge on this thing, but it was really very well produced, beautiful looking show. The special effects I thought were just fantastic.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point, and this is a reason why Dynamite. Who ended up carrying it? It originally was with Dynamite, right?
It was originally
Vertigo.
Wildstorm.
Okay. The episode of the plane was actually portrayed in the comic, and they actually had to rewrite the comic, and they redid it. And the reason why they redid it is because they were the reason 9/11 happened. The planes flew in because Homelander and
in the comic, not the writers.
yeah, no, in the comics it was Homelander and shot down the planes, him and Black Noir, and they went into the Twin Towers. Well, they then redid it that instead of going in the Twin Towers, they took out the Brooklyn Bridge with people on it. So in the comic, the Brooklyn Bridge is just gone, and they keep on referencing the Brooklyn Bridge as that day, the day, the day. And that was one of the main reasons why DC said, hey, we can't have this anymore. Also, the other one was them putting a Nazi version of Superman on the cover. So if we get that in the Love Sausage, an actual comic book character called the Love Sausage who has a giant penis, it's going to be pretty impressive.
Chad, stop talking about me. We all know I'm impressive.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how far Amazon is willing to push this, because I think this was them kind of testing the waters to see, all right, what kind of response are we going to get if we do this or if we do this? And, you know, they don't have advertisers or in the same way that, you know, even an HBO has that that they have to be holden to. So they can like really do whatever the hell they want if they find that people aren't going to start boycotting Amazon. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they've already announced that this was their highest grossing show of all time already, and that they're going to continue to push it. I believe. They already, I think. I mean, they were delaying it, the production of the second one, but I from my understanding, they're already shooting the season 2. They want to fast track.
I would hope so. I mean, they want to strike while the iron's hot. And
yeah, I mean, here is I have a photo I'm going to share of The Boys. It says it's the first one from the new season. You guys all probably have seen this.
There wasn't anything. If we're talking about content that Amazon would have to be concerned about censoring, there wasn't anything in here that wasn't in Game of Thrones or Deadwood. There's occasionally a floppy wiener, a lot of freaking side boob, blood, guts, F-bombs. That's, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, but like the majority of it was alluded to. The worst things about it were alluded to, not shown. Yeah. And I thought it was really well done. I thought it was really well balanced. I could watch this show and feel a little tinge of disgust while laughing at the same time. It was a really fine line they walked, and I thought they did a really good job with it in a way that it's really hard to do. So
they did run over a dolphin with a truck.
Yeah, but it was hilarious when they did it.
That was funny.
It was like, ha ha ha. I'm all right with that.
To Legend's point earlier, they shied away from Homelander jerking off the top of a building a bunch of times in season 1. But would they do that in season 2?
Maybe. I think that's more of a season 4 move when it's on its way out.
They have to bring people back and say, "Oh, did you see that scene with Homelander? He had his full erect penis on the screen."
Damn.
Well, there was one scene that I would have loved them to put in it because it was hilarious in the comics, and it's when Starlight and Huey had sex for the first time, and Butcher comes to the door, and he knocks on the door. He knocks on the door, and he opens up, and he just starts laughing at Huey's face, and Huey doesn't know why, and then he goes in the bathroom and goes to wash his face because he has to meet Huey, and he realizes that his entire face is red.
Sunburnt.
or Red Wings here in the Red Wings.
Ah,
So, but that would have been funny.
that's gross.
That's gross.
I mean, natural. That's natural. No shame here, but ew.
And then also, did anybody see The Incredibles 2? I know.
That's
The
a
Red
shift.
Wings and the Incredibles too.
That's a shift.
Did I miss that?
Well, the funniest thing is they stole a scene right from Incredibles 2 when they hold up the baby with the lasers
Oh,
because they were holding up. But we're being joined by the host who's never able to get on here, and she's back. Here she is. Look, she's even at the panel.
man, that made us all very much smaller.
What?
That made us all very much smaller on the screen when we had a
True.
fifth person.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah, no one needs to see my ugly mug.
So we've been talking for a little bit about The Boys. Kat, why don't you give us your opinions of the show itself?
Okay, so I went into The Boys not really knowing a whole hell of a lot about the comic. I do love some Ennis, but I'd never read The Boys before. And everyone, I know Chad kept telling me, well, it's crazy. And I told him, well, I love Pro and I love Jimmy's Bastards. And he's like, then you're fine. You're gonna love The Boys. Immediately I was hooked after the first episode. Throughout, there was not a dull moment. I honestly don't think that there was a bad episode or just kind of like a lull. I don't think there's anything that you would need to skip over. You can sit down and marathon this and enjoy the hell out of it throughout. The action sequences are great. The characters are great. I mean, I loved it. I mean, even like, I know not everyone's like into horror or anything, but some of the gore that's involved in it's pretty well done. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I think you make a good point as far as like you said the thing about how there wasn't a bad episode. So I think a lot of shows do that thing where they have that episode that's kind of in
Like the
side.
filler.
Yeah,
The filler episodes.
Season 2 of Stranger Things where
I don't
they have
feel
that
like we have any filler.
episode where 11 that's like kind of off track. It's like a character development episode, but who cares because we're invested in the story. Each episode just picked up where the action left off, and it just kept going.
And you did get a vibe that, like, at the beginning, they were making the Homelander out to be, like, dumb, right? Pretty just a controlled puppet, right? Mm-hmm. And as it progresses, you see how much more he knows and how far he's willing to go to get that information. Now, the only thing that I really, really wanted to ask you guys about, and we were going to talk about it, the ending, I know Drew said that Butcher's wife's a whore, but I really don't believe it. I don't think that's the case. I think it is.
I think Homelander is accurately bad.
Oh, I think Homelander's accurately bad. I just think that he didn't rape her. I think that they made that happen together.
I don't know, man. 3 hours?
I'm just...
How's he going to rape her for 3 hours? I mean, if she's struggling, she wouldn't have... If he raped her for 3 hours as a superhero, she wouldn't have walked down that room.
Listen, dude, you're talking to a guy that literally watches The Flash, and then I'll run upstairs and get a drink and be like, boom, and then I'll run in and have sex with my wife, and she goes, well, that was it? And I'm like, yeah, run, Barry, run.
Jesus.
I'm not even going to answer that, Chad.
I mean, it's like that one. Remember the joke? A Wonder Woman's laying in bed, she's naked, and all of a sudden she thinks of something, and boom, she comes out and she has the most amazing orgasm of her entire life. But nobody knows that Superman was flying around and he was trying to figure out how he's going to do this. And then he was like, damn it, if I go super speed, boom, in, out, she'll never know I did that. So he does that. And then all of a sudden, after she has this amazing orgasm, she turns over to the Invisible Man and says, what the fuck was that? And he goes, I have no idea, but my ass hurts. That's a bad joke, but I remember it.
Good.
You finished it, so
I know it's one of
And
few.
there was no blue brick.
None. So I guess I'll add a couple quick things. So maybe next week we're going to dive a little bit further into it because there's a good possibility Derek Robertson, who is the artist behind The Boys, will be joining us live on the show. So either that or him and Garth will be joining us down in Baltimore. It's kind of up in the air at the moment. So,
Oh, no big deal.
Can I talk about Dog Welder?
you can. And he's probably going to give you the same exact line.
I don't give a shit, man. Dog Welder rules.
Okay, so Alec, you are writing something that you are super, super passionate about. I mean, this is the best shit you've ever written in your life, and you want to get it out to the community, right? And two jabronis.
This is a hypothetical, right?
Yeah, this is completely. Two jabronis. You're a well-known guy. You are known, preacher, boys, everything, right? Like, this is you. And two jabronis come over to you, and they're like, "Hey, man, can we interview you?" Yeah, sure, no problem, man. Because that's my his accent.
I got it. Yeah.
So he says, so tell us, what are you working on? Well, I'm working on the most something that I'm very, very passionate about. It's a World War II story about this woman sniper. It's the most
Yeah. Anything about Dog Welder? You doing more Dog Welder?
I'm sure we'll see dog, but it is very, very. Say it again.
So no more Dog Welder, right? That was my interview.
That was his interview with Garth Ennis. Dude, I want more
It's a
Dog
bold
Welder.
choice.
It was a bold choice, but I fucking love Dog Welder, and I wanted to know that people love Dog Welder.
I'm like, are you kidding me? And he said, no, maybe we can get some more.
Baytor, he's like, and I was like, all right, Baytor sounds awesome. Throw some Dog Welder in there for me. So if we get a Baytor book and there's Dog Welder in there,
You're welcome.
you're welcome.
How about if in The Boys season 2, since he's an executive producer, you could say, if you get him, say, hey, can I get some Dog Welder in season 2?
But Dog Welder is a DC character, so I don't know
just
if
maybe like
you'd have
in
the
the
ability to
background.
use him. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Dan Didio doesn't have plans for Dog Welder.
Yeah, you never know. And Jim Lee is now the guy.
No, so it's his fault
I mean,
that there's no Dog Welder in my life.
yep.
Legend, this is
Make sure you I just want to make sure you address your letters appropriately.
Well, I will. To whom it may concern.
I need more Dog Welder. And he left.
Legend left, but we can talk more about Dog Welder if you guys would like.
So you have said that you're trying to get it set up for me to interview Jeff Lemire at Baltimore, and I think I will probably take the crown away from Drew for being the worst interview.
I've got
your
questions
back. He's
for
gonna let you.
Lemire too. I'm a Black Hammer Gideon Falls fanboy, so
So I'm just going to keep interjecting and ask about Essex County and see how that goes.
I'll be like, yeah. So Golden Gale.
Ask him about Dog Welder.
I will ask Jeff Lemire about Dog Welder. Any plans for a Dog Welder allegory in Black Hammer? We can make it Cat Sander. It's a guy who goes around making sure all the cats are smooth.
Well, guys, it's 11:15. Kat, Mark, thanks for joining us a little late. I'd like to wrap this up because we got a big day tomorrow because we got Off the Rails.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of craziness.
And we got
We're
a lot
talking
of...
digital.
And well, we're also going to have a bunch of announcements.
Yeah.
And if I edit a video tonight, there will be one tomorrow morning.
And dude, you are rocking it. Alec, you're kicking ass. What are you guys doing on Monday?
Oh, I have no idea. Something that people will either love and or hate.
Should do top 11.
So we don't get
Do top 8.5.
top PGX 9.3.
Top Pi, only 3.14 books.
So we've got the amazing Murphinator, guys. I'm sorry that I wasn't on the chat like Carson is, but we should have him back tomorrow night. Everybody, with that being said, I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Well, wait, Mark has something to actually say.
Mark gonna say something.
What do you have to say?
Mark, you gonna say something?
Can
What
all
you
wait.
eating, Mark?
I was eating a burrito with steak bacon, jalapeno, actually banana peppers, green peppers, and a little bit of teriyaki sauce.
Like a champ.
Yep.
Is
Sounds
that a
wild.
Cruel Intentions t-shirt?
Yep. Cruel intentions.
Good.
And I'm trying to eat Katie's burrito over here, but she won't let me eat
Whoa,
it.
whoa, whoa, whoa! This is a family show.
Yeah, we
This is
gotta
a
go.
family
Talk to you guys soon.
burrito.
See you guys.
Bye.
What the blank?